I tried Kin Euphorics, and I gotta say, this was one of the most interesting drinks I've ever had.
Oh, hi, Mark.
What's up, Freccero fam? Welcome back to my channel. We'd like to experience everything that life has to offer. This drink in my hand, Kin Euphorics, I'm gonna jump right into it, was incredibly interesting. This is meant to be a non-alcoholic alternative for, like, say, having alcohol, but still kind of gives you a buzz, still makes you relaxed, still, in a sense, gives you some of the benefits of why people drink alcohol without any alcohol. And I want to stress on this video, this is my completely honest review. I bought this with my own money. They did not ask me to make this video. So that being said, first off, let's get into what exactly is in this. So I'm on their site right now. You can see this is the main one that I have. They have a few different ones. This is the Kin Spritz. And so going down here, you can see that's a sparkling, mood-boosting blend of ginger, bitters, and tart citrus to ease stress and amplify energy. Here's the main kind of idea of it. It's a non-alcoholic and gently caffeinated Kin Spritz is infused with adaptogens, nootropics, and botanics like rhodiola rosea, 5-HTP, and GABA to elevate your mood, smooth out stress, and offer a boost of energy. So all basically healthy ingredients that, when all combined, give you a bit of a sensation as if you're buzzed. And I will talk about how it affected me personally, like my own personal experience when having it, but I want to show you the ingredients first. Now, this is the nutritional facts as well. You can see everything that's in this if you want to scan it real quick. Only 30 calories, 9 grams of carbs, 4 grams of sugar, no protein. So if you look at this compared to a lot of other, alcoholic drinks, even, especially non-alcoholic drinks like non-alcoholic beers, way less in calories, pretty healthy for you overall. And I will also say this too, there's 50 milligrams of caffeine. So besides what's in it, what are the logistics of it? So basically, I'm gonna say taste and cost, and then I'm gonna talk about how it affected me. Now, first off, I'm gonna put this over here. In terms of the cost, I bought this for $4. It was $4, and I will also say I bought 2 of these, which is very important for this video. Again, we'll talk about that in a second. So I got 2 of them, so $8, $4 each. Thought pretty reasonable, nothing too crazy, I'd say. When it comes to the taste as well, it tasted like a bitter spritz, more even on the Negroni side, if I'd word it like that. It almost is like a very bitter, herbally mixed drink. That's the best way to word it, but remember, there's no alcohol in it whatsoever. With that all being said, how did it affect me? I think that's the big thing a lot of people want to know, like, okay, is this legit? Is this actually legit? And I'm going to say yes. I think there's pros and cons to it, like anything in life. But like I say, what I thought was very interesting, this is the way I had it. Let me, start there. Is I had one, and about 15 or 20 or 30 minutes later, I was like, you know what? Might as well just have 2. And I will say, when having this, it takes about maybe a half an hour to an hour to reach its full effects. And there was one point after having a couple of them, after having 2, where I was like, I am really feeling this. So keep in mind, if you are trying this, start off small. So that being said, in terms of how I felt, when I had a couple of them, like I said, I had 2, the best way I can word it is almost kind of made me feel like the benefits of alcohol, if I'd word it like that, without the negative side effects. Of course, alcohol, as we all know, is one of the worst things to put into your body. Even Andrew Huberman's talked about this in different podcasts. Even just one drink a day has a lot of detrimental effects, which is why a lot of people are looking for non-alcoholic alternatives. And I have done videos about, like, say, non-alcoholic beer and more on this channel. Because the thing is, there's different reasons why people drink alcohol. Some people drink alcohol for the taste, but a lot of people drink alcohol for the effects, for that feeling of being buzzed, for being relaxed, maybe more socially open, because I know a lot of people drink because they might have social anxiety and they want to open up more, whatever the case is. And the way this affected me, honestly, it kind of felt like a blend of a light buzz, as if I was drinking, maybe combined with being a little, and it's just a little high. I think that's the best way I would describe the sensation. It kind of also felt like that kind of relaxation feeling combined, and this is definitely because of the caffeine, with a little bit of a caffeine high, but almost on the relaxed end of it. I know it sounds weird, but you know that feeling when you're having like a really good caffeine buzz? Like you've had a really good cup of coffee and you're like in it. Like say you're working on something, whatever, and like you have a really good like caffeine high. It almost felt like And I know this sounds like a paradox, but a relaxed caffeine high. I also noticed for me that when I had a couple of them, like I said, that I felt like a lot of my stress, because I remember actually, which is kind of, I guess, good. When I did try these, I remember it was a very stressful day. I had a lot going on that day. It was like one thing after the other. And I was like, you know what, let me try this. It's been a crazy day. And I got to say that I noticed that a lot of my stress went away. I felt way more relieved. I felt way more relaxed. I almost kind of felt like my mind quieted down a little bit. That's the best way I can word it, where my mind just felt quiet. That all the clutter and the noise of my mind just kind of simmered. And so I could see for a lot of people, depending on who you are, because obviously something like this does affect everybody differently. I did do a lot of reviews online on like Reddit and other forums. And I know some people who tried this and said, didn't get anything out of it. Like didn't really get any effects. Maybe I had a little more energy. Maybe I felt a little more relaxed, but didn't really get anything out of it. I know other people were like, oh, I had it and I felt very, very blissful. Almost like I took a little bit of Molly, or I was almost like rolling, or I took an amphetamine type thing. For me, I didn't really get like an amphetamine type effect. I will say that. Like I didn't get this crazy blissful, euphoric feeling. But I think the best thing to compare it to, being honest, is it was a healthy way of feeling, like I said, a little buzzed, as if I had, like, say, a few drinks, plus maybe being a little high. Like, say if I smoked like a little bit of weed. And I'll say for me, I'm not really much of a smoker, definitely more of a drinker. But that's the best way I can kind of describe the sensation. Like I said, there was one point after having a couple of them where I was like, whoa, this is kind of a lot. And I mean that in a good way. I will say this. If you are planning on trying this, have one, wait about an hour. And then if you want to have a second one, then have a second one. But it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting that something like this, you know, with what's in it, which, you know, again, is a lot of adaptogens, botanics, nootropics, etc. That's all it is, and yet it does give you a very positive effect, a positive sensation. With that all being said, what about the negative aspects? Of course, nothing's perfect. One, I do suggest, and I say this all the time, I'm not a doctor, and I never pretend to be one in any of my videos. And I want to say that because this does contain 5-HTP. 5-HTP does boost serotonin levels, and keep that in mind that, like say, if you are taking SSRIs, this might not be something you want to have. So just keep that in mind that, of course, this is not meant for everybody. And I know some people, like I said earlier, when I saw on Reddit or other forums, try this, they're like, waste of money, didn't do anything. Other people tried it and they're like, whoa, this was very intense. And for me, I think this is something I would buy again. This is the kind of thing, being honest for me, like I said, and I want to stress, this is my honest review. They didn't ask me to make this video, like I said a couple times already. This is legit. At least the way it affected me, I would get it again. Another thing I want to talk about is this, like say, versus alcohol. Because like I said, the way it affected me is it was almost like having a few drinks combined with like a relaxed caffeine high. I know it sounds like a paradox. And then having like say a little weed, or like being kind of high a little bit. I'll be honest. If I had to pick, do I think the sensation of having Kin Euphorics versus alcohol, which one would I pick? Which one do I think, like say, feels better? If I'd word it like that, physiologically and psychologically, I'd still probably pick alcohol, if I had to be honest. Like, again, that's just for me. However, I can see a lot of people actually preferring the sensation of Kin Euphorics to alcohol, or to weed, or to a caffeine high, whatever. There is something that was very unique about it that felt super relaxed, super calming. And if I had to look at like a spectrum, because this does have caffeine in it, which I'll talk about in a second, if I look at it as a spectrum, I do kind of feel like that for me, I was way more on the relaxed end. And I say that because there are some people who I read about who, like say, would have this and go out. They'd go out with friends and they're like, hey, it's a way for me to be sober and not consume alcohol, but still be social. I did not get that from this. And I won't say that. It's just the way it affected me personally. I did try this alone, and I didn't really go out when I took it. But I'll be honest. If like it was a Friday night and I was being sober, I think I'd rather have non-alcoholic beers or something, or maybe just liqueurs or whatever, than this. I feel like the way it affected me, I'd almost rather be alone. So like if I was playing video games or just watching TV, reading a book, or just kind of hanging in and relaxing, I feel like this is perfect for that. This is not the kind of thing that I think I'd personally want to take and go out, because I feel like it'd actually be less social. So I do want to say that. That being said, I know people who I read about who are like, oh, I took this and I went out and I felt like I was just as social as if I had alcohol. And this kind of helped my social anxiety, or it made me feel a bit buzzed and a bit loopy, if I'd use that word, without any alcohol. And I can definitely see, depending on who you are and the way this affects you, I could definitely see that being the case for a lot of people, which is why I suggest if you are going to try this, maybe try it at first alone in the comfort of your own home. See how it affects you. I could easily see some people being like, whoa, I feel way more social now, way more relaxed, using it as almost like a social lubricant, so to speak. But I could also see other people reacting the way that I did, which is, yeah, it makes me feel great and everything, but I don't think I'd want to go out and be energetic and do stuff and mingle with people, if that makes sense. And on that note, too, about going out and whatnot, this does contain, like I said, 50 milligrams of caffeine. In case you didn't know, a shot of espresso, you're probably looking at about 70-ish milligrams. A cup of coffee, probably about like 80 to 90 milligrams. So keep that in mind. Now, for me, I will say this. I am not super sensitive to caffeine, but sensitive enough that I cannot have caffeine late. This is a bittersweet situation with this drink. This is the kind of thing that I think for a lot of people, they're like, hey, it's a Friday night. I don't want to consume alcohol, but I want to relax in the comfort of my own home. I'm going to have a couple Kin Euphorics and just relax. If you're having these around 8 or 9 p.m., that's going to heavily disrupt your sleep. I wish there was a version of this that didn't have caffeine in it. There are a few different ones that can help you sleep. Kin Euphorics does have a few different products besides this one. This is their flagship one. But to be honest, that is what's bittersweet about this. Because on one end, I don't like that. This is not the kind of thing I would ever have it at 8 or 9 p.m. because it's going to heavily disrupt my sleep. You typically should stop having caffeine roughly about 12 hours before going to bed. Dr. Matthew Walker's talked a lot about this. On the other end, though, I can see if you're somebody who's like, hey, I'm having Kin Euphorics because it makes me more social. It makes me want to go out. It kind of perks me up the way alcohol does to go out and meet people and whatnot. I can see the caffeine, even though it does disrupt your sleep, being a good thing. It gives you more energy, right? And we've probably all been there. Like say it's 9 p.m. on a Friday night or Saturday night. You're tired and you know what? I need a Red Bull vodka or I need an espresso martini to kind of perk up. I know I shouldn't have caffeine this late, but I need something to keep me awake. And so I can see the caffeine situation of Kin Euphorics being a bit of a bittersweet thing because, like I said, I had 2 cans of this. And let's say if you're gonna have 2 cans of it, like say 9 p.m. on a Friday night, you're having 100 milligrams of caffeine that is 100% gonna disrupt your sleep, especially if you're sensitive to caffeine. I've heard of some people trying this and being like, yeah, I was up all night. I didn't expect the caffeine in this to hit me as hard as it did because it relaxed me. It made me feel good, but the caffeine just kept me awake all night. That is what's bittersweet about it. Overall, though, I gotta say, I really did like it. I'd probably give it maybe 4 out of 5 stars if I had to give it a Freccero rating on this channel because I have tried a lot of sober alternatives to alcohol. And I find when it comes to alcohol, people have it for different reasons. When it comes to the taste, there's non-alcoholic beers. I've reviewed a lot of non-alcoholic beers on this channel. There's a lot of great versions of it, a lot of great styles when it comes to non-alcoholic IPAs, pilsners, lagers, etc. But then other people, of course, have alcohol for the physiological and psychological effects, being more relaxed, being more social, etc. And this is a great alternative to kind of get those psychological and physiological benefits of alcohol, if I'd word like that, and sensations without all the negative consequences and the negative effects. In addition, I also want to say when drinking this, it did taste kind of like a mixed drink. Like I said, like a bitter, herbal style mixed drink to the point where if someone gave me this and I didn't know what it was, and they said, hey man, try this really good mixed drink. It's 5% alcohol or whatever. You got to try it. I don't think I would know that there's not alcohol in it. So I want to say that too, when it comes to the taste profile and how it tastes and the sensation of having it, this tastes like you're having alcohol. And in terms of the way it affects you, like I said, it does give you a really cool, interesting, unique buzz that's both energetic, but also relaxing.